Hello. Hi, everyone. It's Audrey Watson. I'm here with to share some details with you I thought was really exciting and compelling, and I just wanted to jump right in today. So, if you're joining me for the very first time, my name is Audrey Watson. I'm an HR consultant and career coach, and the name of my business, my organization, is BU LLC, where I provide HR consulting to small to mid-sized business owners, as well as career coaching services to professionals that may be transitioning into HR and or interested in the HR field or any other field. I'm well versed in many industries, so I'm open to partner with you. As you all may see, the description that I've given for this the topic for today is really the number one reason why people are not being selected. Perhaps you are in the job market. Perhaps you are, looking for a job here in 2021, and maybe you are landing interviews. However, what I'm finding is, although you may be landing interviews, you are not, being selected and to acquire that job offer. So I'm here today to share the number one reason why you are not landing that job, and perhaps with this helpful tip is going to help you attract and land your next job opportunity. So thank you for those that are joining me. Feel free to jump into the comments. Let me know if you have a question. Let me know if you went on a perhaps on an interview and you want some helpful tips. Maybe something went well for you, and if it did, please drop a comment down below and let us know, so that the more we know, the more we share, and the more we can help others. So again, thank you guys for joining. It looks like I have quite a few people. Again, feel free to jump in and share any comments. So for today's topic, again, it's really the number one reason why you are not being selected in the interview process. Like, if you made it through the interview process, and let's say you are not landing that actual job offer, what I'm finding is a consistent pattern. And one of the patterns is people who are not prepared. That's right. They're not prepared. So that is the consistent pattern and the consistent behavioral style that I find one reason why you're not going through the interview process, and why you're not being selected if you do land an interview. So I'm going to just, as I go through, because I'm watching not only my phone here, but also I'm watching just different comments that I'm getting from other platforms. So again, thank you guys for joining. Okay, so specifically, when I say the number one reason why you are not landing, a job offer, even though you're landing interviews, what I find is when I am either on a panel, conducting interviews, or on a panel with other colleagues on an interview process, or to be quite transparent, perhaps I'm on the other side of the table. Let's say that I'm a job seeker. What I find is, immediately when you are being interviewed, your opening statement, if it's not captivating, if you're not telling a story, you're not going to make it through the interview process. So more specifically, you have to be specific. You have to share your value and why I should hire you. And throughout the discussion, when you're speaking with a potential employer, you think about it. Let's back up for a second. You've done you've done all this applying online and networking, and you've done your due diligence, and now you've landed an interview. Most times people let their nerves get the best of them. And I'm telling you, we all human, sometimes, your nerves just get away from you, and I get it. But in order for you to overcome your nervousness, you have to be prepared. You have to, conduct mock interviews, work with your colleagues, etc. Partner with someone such as myself to help prepare you for your interview. But in order for you to overcome those nerves, you're going to become more at ease if you're well prepared and you're comfortable. You know your background, you've done your resume. That's why I always advocate for someone to keep abreast of your resume, keep, looking at your resume and have others look at your resume from time to time, because if you don't know your resume and you can't speak to your value, then an employer is not going to want to even, deal with you after the interview process. So, when it comes to really nailing the interview questions, and yes, mock interviewing, preparing, situational behavioral style interviewing is really the technique now, because employers, we really want to know in any situation, based on your resume and the different things that you've shared, we've already engaged. You've already gotten our attention. So you've done the hard part. But a lot of times when people get in interviews, they bomb because they do not know. When a question comes up, they begin to go all over the place. I've even had candidates tell me, I feel like I'm rambling. And I'm like, that's the last thing you want to tell an employer, is that I feel like I'm rambling, because 9 times out of 10, if you are, they already concluded that from the beginning. So let's go into how you can nail the responses to those interview questions. And I have a few interview questions here that are typical. One, tell me about yourself, right? Or they'll ask, how did you hear about this position? Why do you want to work for us? They'll ask, why do you want the job? They may ask, why should we hire you? They may say something like, to try to trip you up, what are your strengths? What do you consider your weaknesses? That always gets a lot of people. Well, I'm here to tell you, when you go to answer those questions, you have to ask yourself, why are they asking these questions? Why? They're asking because they want to get to know you. They want to get to know you. They want to know about you and your value, and how you, even when it comes to criticism, your weaknesses, etc., you want to be able to share that with them, guys. And if you're telling them, let's say for instance, they ask you about customer service, and they ask you, what is customer service? And you say, customer service is, the customer's always right, and meeting the needs of the customer. Yeah, you're defining customer service, but you're not telling them how how do you manage customers? How do you make their guests or their customers feel important? What value you would add? How you pretty much impact their customer base? And if you're not able to speak to that, guys, you're not going to pass. You don't want to give a definition of customer service and leave it like that. You want to give an example of how you went above and beyond the customer service experience. For instance, I love Chick-fil-A. Not because of that chicken sandwich. I love Chick-fil-A because of the guest service that they provide. From the time I get on their parking lot to the time I leave, even in COVID, they're engaging their customer. So how would I answer that? I would utilize one of my most difficult clients. As an HR professional, I've had internal stakeholders that have been really good to me, and I've had some that have been really, really good to me. And how do I clarify that? Those that have been really, really good to me are those that have been my most difficult internal clients. They allowed me to really see, my strength, my weakness, and I'm going to utilize that particular experience, that particular situation, and I'm going to invite the interviewer, the employer, into my world. I'm going to share the situation. I'm going to share, I'm going to share with them the task that I had. I'm going to share with them the action that I took to resolve the matter and the results. You want to drive in that result, because the results speak to your value. And if you're not adding value, then you're not going to pass the interview process. So the number one reason, let's go back. What I just shared with you is the STAR method. The STAR method is pretty much a technique that you're going to want to take every time you go in an interview, and you want to be very specific, and the STAR method is going to help you with that specification. It's going to allow you the opportunity to speak to your experience, how you've handled things in the past, You're going to be able to stay focused, because one is about you. And yes, a lot of people don't like bragging about themselves, but you know what? In order for you to pass the interview process and to land that job offer, you're going to have to speak to your caliber. You're going to have to speak to your experience. You're going to have to speak to how you got those, engagement awards, or you became employee of the month, or any of these values that you've added. And if you're not able to do that, guys, I'm telling you, you're not going to pass the interview process. So with that, just to recap, because I'm not going to be before you long. I know we all are preparing for the week. And those that are joining me, give me a comment of how you prepare for the week. I would love to see what other people do to prepare for the week. I'm always open to learn from other people. But to just go back real quick, a lot of times people are not passing the interview process. It's because they're not being specific when they respond to the interviewer's questions. I gave the example of customer service. I'll give you another example. If someone asks you, after looking at the job description, what made you interested in applying to the role? One, you want to go into explaining, how their missions and their values add value to you, and meaning, if their mission is to help their customers become number one, blah, 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 you're going to want to tie in how you can help drive the results to make them become number one, why your value added is going to make them number one. And if you're able to do that, you're going to capture that particular hiring manager. Start with the story. Tell them, invite them into your world. Remember, you are the prize. And you want to make sure that you invite them into your world so that they would want to. I don't care how many people they're interviewing. You're going to want to make sure that when you leave the scene, they're going to be ready to make you that job offer. So if you're not able to respond to that, if you're not able to target and share that value added, you're not going to go through an interview process. So responding specifically to an employer's question is really going to help you, because if you're too vague, if you're talking about there was a team project and what was your position on the team, and you're saying how you were just pretty much the gatekeeper, you just scheduled the meeting and you got people's input, and that's pretty much all you did. You're not showing your value. You're not showing the leadership capabilities that you had. You're not showing, sharing the results that you help impart and drive. And if you're not able to do that, guys, especially in this particular market with everything going on with COVID, you have to be able to show your value. You have to differentiate yourself from the competition, and being able to be specific, be able to share the situation, the task, the action that you took, and the results that you helped deliver is really going to show that impact. So using the STAR method, I can go on and on about the STAR method. I've had tons and tons of interviews, and I've been able to receive a lot of offers because I've been able to use the STAR method, okay, to impart my value. So just to recap real quick, I want to make sure that before we go today, I want to make sure that in order for you to ensure that you are overcoming the nerves, because I know we all get them. Anytime I have to get up and present to someone, and even coming before you today, I had to make sure that I prepared my content, okay? So before you go anywhere, before you go and, if it's an employer that you really want to get, you really, 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 really want to deliver on, and you really want to drive to make sure that you're attracting the right employers, you got to put yourself out there, you got to network, you got to do all of that. But guys, I'm fast forwarding us to when you actually have that interview. You want to make sure that you've done your research. You've gone on their social media platform. You look not just on LinkedIn. Don't not just look at the hiring manager. You want to look at the company. You want to look at any relevant news that they've done recently. You want to make sure that you're ultimately prepared for that interview, right? And then you want to speak to your value. From the time you open up that interview, you want to be able to say, tell me about yourself. You don't want to say, hi, I on my spare time, I make crafts. You know what? That's not tying into the business. You want to make sure that you are opening and you're captivating, you're telling your story. You want them to know why they should pick you, why you are the top candidate for this role. And in order to do that, you got to be specific. You got to do your legwork, your homework, and you want to invite them and tell your story and share the why you versus the other 5 or 6 candidates that they're going to interview. And the more prepared you are, the more you're going to get over those nerves, okay? Again, when you look at, like I said, the content of the company, you want to make sure that you're looking at all their social media. You want to look at what employees are also saying. The employees are really, really, really critical. And again, don't look at every review, even if it's negative, and take it as the gospel, okay? Because from the HR hat that I'll put back on, there are things that happen that are beyond the employer's control, okay? I want you to really look at how employers are responding. So if you're on Glassdoor or if you're on Google and you see that there may be a couple of negative responses, take a look and see whether that employer took the time to respond. Because that lets you know that they're acknowledging the negative as well as the positive, and they are taking action. They're mindful of their social media platforms, they're mindful of their internet platforms, etc., and they're taking initiative. So that's an employer that you want to look at twice. But if you're just looking at a couple of negatives and say, oh, I don't want to work there, that's not good, because you never know, you could be missing out on a rewarding opportunity. So do your legwork, look at what other employees are saying, but also look at the pattern. Look at what how the employer is responding. For instance, before we go, I remember looking at different things that has happened with Amazon, and it's been all over the news, they're all over the headlines. But most specifically, I've seen how they've taken action. They've responded. If there's something that happened with their employees, they've acknowledged it happened, but they've taken responsibility for some of their actions. Maybe not all, but they've taken some responsibility. So that is just one employer I wanted to mention that I've seen. And finally, I just wanted to leave you guys with this. If you want to have, when they look at the results and you want to look at reflections of how you can, bring value to any employer and the why they should, hire you, you only want to target employers that are, how do we say this? You want to only target employers that you're really interested in. I can't tell you the amount of people that I will call as a recruiter, because I put on my recruiter hat and I call someone and you applied for XYZ position and you're sitting here telling me, you're asking me about the job. You're asking me, where am I calling you from? You're asking me, things that you should know. If you took the time to apply for a position and the employer took the time to respond to your resume, you have to have your game face on. And sometimes, the interviews aren't scheduled in advance, whether it be a phone screen, etc. But if you're not, guys, prepared, and you're asking the recruiter who they are over and over, and you don't have your, you don't know why you've applied to the role because you've really just been applying everywhere, it's going to come across in the interview process. So it goes back to my number one objective, is to make sure that you're prepared. And yes, I will say this too, not every interviewer is not all interviewers are created equally. Not everybody, are trained, etc., to actually, conduct an interview. But what you want to do is make sure that when you leave the stage, whether it be virtually or on-site, because there are some on-site interviews taking place, you want to make sure that you leave a lasting impression. You want to make sure that when you leave, that employer is going to want to follow up with you within the first 24 hours of you. And sometimes I've left an interview and they've asking me my salary requirements again, I know that I'm heading in the right direction when that happens. But it goes back to attracting who you are and what you want in life, right? If you do your due diligence and you prepare accordingly, you're going to attract opportunities. But you got to go back to the basics. What do I want to do? who do I want to support, and what value I can bring. And if you can answer all those questions clearly, when you go for those interviews, you're going to land it. So with that being said, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I have my website there. It has all my contact information. Again, I'm your girl, Audrey Watson. I am an HR consultant and career coach with BU LLC, where I provide HR consulting to small and mid-sized business owners, as well as provide career coaching to professionals that are seeking either to transition into HR, or they are, just looking for a new career, or they need help with interviewing, etc. My website contains all of my services, and I'm here to partner with you because I know it's pretty tough at times, especially with the pandemic, and you really need that extra help. I'm here to partner with you, and that's why I do these lives. I would like to embark in much information out there so that you can be well set for 2021. So again, thank you for your time. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching the replay of this video, feel free to comment below. I do respond to my comments as well. I have a YouTube page, I have LinkedIn, I also have Instagram, etc. I'm all over the place, so feel free to reach out to me. I enjoyed speaking with you, and I hope that this information will help prepare you for the week to come. Okay? And with that being said, thank you, and I'll see you next time.